women characters, and I love the character here, and it's your mother.
Yes, yes.
And I'd love for you to talk about how the character came to be and what you were setting out. You know, there was something of a, I don't know what the right term is, it's not an agenda, but a discussion. You were trying to react to some characters that we don't often see, or perhaps I'm mischaracterizing.
Yes, no, that's true.
Before I go any further, I'm bringing John Thomas down here,
Really?
the producer.
John Thomas.
Yeah, he's got to come down here. He is instrumental in making this film. Yeah. But yeah, you know, you got to be careful how you raise your kids. You never know what they might do to you. But yeah, it was basically, the film was inspired when I heard Diane Keaton speak a few years ago, and she was talking about there comes a point in every woman's life when you are no longer being looked at, you're being looked past. And I thought about that for quite a while and thought about how there's many people, there's many different classes and races and ages that are being looked past. And I think in filmmaking in particular, older women, you just don't see that often in films. And so I thought, what if you place someone at the brink of being frustrated by how society is treating them and up the ante and see what happens. And this is what came out of it.
And maybe we could talk a little bit about the production and how it came together. And I love that, you know, I'm so proud to have a world premiere of a film that was made right here in Minnesota. And maybe you could talk a little bit about how the whole thing, how the thing got made.
Oh, sure. A lot of hard work, as they say. You know, Jennifer approached me with the script, about a year ago now, and just really kind of fell in love with it. And then we started talking to people that are good friends of ours in town. We managed to get Steve Spears to come on board, who's a brilliant cinematographer.
It looked amazing.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
looked
so
good.
And then her mom was so great. So getting those two pieces really got the ball rolling, and then we just said, okay, it's time, and we shot 5 days.
Whoa.
And then our little girl got sick, so we had to pick up 2 more days, like 2 weeks later. But we shot all over. We shot in St. Paul, we shot in Stillwater, we shot in Minneapolis, all over, so pretty cool, yeah.
So wonderful. And do you want to talk a little bit about trying to direct your mother?
You got to pick your battles. It went really, surprisingly, really well. And I think there was only one day, and it was the one morning shoot. And we had not storyboarded. Things were changing, and boy, storyboarding is so important. And so we were doing a lot of takes. It was the scene in the bedroom, and we were up to like take 5 or 6 or something, and Mom said, oh God, I gotta get this right. And I realized my mom has been a 50-year stage actor, but she hasn't worked in film. And so she thought every time we were doing a take, it was because of her performance. And it could be because of sound issues or the camera, you know, blah, 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 a million different factors. And so Mom thought every time we were doing it, that it was her fault. And I had to say, no, you're doing a great job. And she said, don't placate me. And the entire room went silent. Even the young grips, the guys, the tough guys.
And I know, and we do have time for a couple of questions as well, but I'd love to ask you about, at the panel you were discussing how many versions of the script you wrote, that there were many different variations, that the ending kept changing. I'm wondering, first off, why did you go back to it so many different times, and how did you sort of arrive at this as the final?
Yeah, well, good question. In writing it, I got a lot of feedback from really good writers. The director-writer of the feature film that John and I produced, as well as a couple of screenwriters in town here, and they all gave different input and different feedback, and I had to really listen and put the ego aside, and then take what their feedback, and then also work with the lead and get Margaret, my mom's input in terms of what she felt the character would do, because I'm not her age, and I wanted it to be from the perspective of someone that age, and not my idea of what it must be like to be that age. So that changed, and then the ending was, I wanted to leave it up for interpretation in some regards, because I wanted the film to be about a conversation piece about these issues rather than a neat and tidy package, so to speak. Do you have anything to add?
There was one version where Miriam started a fire, and then a baby buggy was rolling down the street, and she saved the baby buggy.
Yeah.
I like this version.
Yeah.
I have plenty more questions, but are there any out there that we'd love to take? We welcome all questions. There's always has to be the brave first person. Yes?
Did you have your mom in mind for the role the entire time when you were
Was your mom always going to be starring in the film?
Yeah, I was not going to offer her the role. not offer her the role. Yeah, no, I wrote it with Margaret in mind. Yeah, definitely.
That would be an awkward conversation.
Yeah.
Someone else might play it.
Yeah.
Judy Dench.
Judy. Are there any more questions? I'm sure there are more. The lights down here are a little bright, but please, another brave soul.
Yeah, what's next in the life of this film?
What's next
in the life of this film? In the life of this film, or
This
in
one.
my life personally? Or?
Where's the movie going next?
Well, it's been submitted to a number of festivals. It just screened at the Flyway Festival last night. We're waiting to hear on the other festivals that we've submitted it to. It is actually being used just via word of mouth in small book groups and women's organizations talking about these issues. I've toyed with the idea. Would it be? Is the subject matter strong enough to carry it into a feature? I'm not sure. So
I'm gonna go ahead and say yes. I'll say yes. And what's next for you in terms of projects and films and?
yeah. Well, John and I are working on a few things, but the next short film that I'm working on is another voice that I think is not heard that often, and it's about an Iraqi soldier who wakes up in the morning, reads the newspaper, and he reads his own obituary. And it's really about how if you die over there, you get a 21 gun salute. If you survive and you make it back, you're having a tough time here. So that's short. Another cheery subject matter.
And you were the producer of one of the great films of our first festival, the first year we had this festival, and it means so much to us. I mean, to me personally, but to us as an organization, to be able to have a wonderful screening of this film, and we hope that you'll consider us with your next film. And it's one of the great talents in the city, and great stories being told, and stories that need to be told. And I guess that's my rant. There is another question, please.
There are a lot of issues brought up in this film that are very current. And I wonder, for me, it's very thought-provoking. And have you ever thought of putting a few questions where people could use this film and have discussion group afterwards, some kind of a discussion guide?
Yeah, I think that would be great. I think that it does bring up, in particular, I found feedback from younger people, and I'm talking about age 15s and 16, who were talking to their moms who are friends of mine, and they said that these are just things they never really think about, and because we don't like to think about getting old, and somehow it happens to those people. But and so yeah, I think that would be very valuable, not for all ages. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, please, one more round of applause for looking past you. So good. So great. Now a quick word, this is Chris Braz from Remax Results, as well as the Minneapolis Ski Club. Just had a couple of quick words to say after the fest, and thank you so much for the sponsorship of the screening. Appreciate it.
Well, most of you guys probably know me. My name is Chris Rose with Remax Results. And there's Nico. He also sponsored the film. The reason why I sponsored the film, because when I heard that it was coming to town, I thought it was an awesome story. Actually, it's kind of crazy. Lindsay started jumping before I did, and I hung up the boards 10 years ago. So this is how long that she's been fighting that battle. It's pretty crazy. But I like it because I hung up the boards. I was a ski jumper growing up as well, so it influenced me a lot, as well as I run a grassroots program here in town. Here in Bloomington, we've got 2 programs on the east side and the west side, and we do a lot of things here. So it's hard to get this kind of exposure. So I really appreciate you guys coming on out. It's a big thing for me. As well as, like I said, we run the grassroots program in Bloomington, the Minneapolis Ski Club, and out in Woodbury, the St. Paul Ski Group. We have huge events. We bring international skiers in all the time. We're jumping these hills all the time. We have women, we have men. We're just trying to really expose the sport in something like this. Big events. We even have the Junior National Championships coming up later this year here in Bloomington. So anyways, just wanted anything I can do to expose the sport in this community, I love to do. I run the program in Bloomington, and it's near and dear to my heart.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you again for all your help in support of this film. And we welcome everyone to keep the conversation going, either out in the hallway or you can go up to the lobby lounge, which is awesome, and you can sit there and talk. And I mean, if anyone has questions or wants to talk about things, so this is great. Let's keep the dialogue going. Thanks. Thanks, everyone.